Which shoe is better to hoop in? The Adidas Dame 8 or the Nike PG5? Today we're putting Damian Lillard and Paul George's most recent signature shoes head to head to see how they compare. But really quick, if this is your first time checking us out, feel free to drop a follow or subscribe wherever you're watching and give this video a like. We would greatly appreciate that. So starting off with the box and the price, the Dame 8s get a pretty sweet box. This was the first pair to release and they came with kind of a cool boxing theme that also shows up on the shoes. I haven't gotten any other colorways, but they probably did simplify the box, kind of after this model. Before the PG5, these are going to come in a gray box with that camel design. It's also going to show up on a small patch of the shoes. As for pricing, the Dame 8s did jump up $10 from last year, and now they retail for $120, which still isn't bad. And that's going to be $10 higher than the PG5s, retailing for only $110. So two pretty affordable shoe models here, which is nice. So checking out the appearance for these shoes and starting off with the colorways, today we have the Adidas Dame 8 Dame Time versus the Nike PG5 Wolf Gray. So looking at the Dame 8s first, these shoes get some of that same boxing theme with the fourth quarter KO text that shows up on the inside pull tab on the upper, but there were a few changes made to this year's model just as far as the structure goes. Adidas did put more of a curved design on the midsole compared to the wing design that have been kind of in that same area on the Dame 7s, but over the past few years, Dame's line hasn't really changed all that much, at least not a ton, but I do like the way his shoes have been looking, so that doesn't really bother me. But these do have a pretty noticeable color break just in the middle of the shoe. It honestly kind of reminds me of the Jordan Zion 1, where you had that shift in the middle where it goes from more of a yellow, I guess, more of a purple color to a yellow color scheme on the back side. I'm honestly just hoping that Adidas will bring back that extended play series like they did on the 7s with that whole EXT PLY theme. I just really love the colorways that came out of that. But now switching it over to the PG5s, this is an area that there's going to be a clear difference between the 4s and the 5s would be that zipper that ran up the middle of the shoe. They took that away on this model, and I kind of miss it because without that it does make these look pretty basic, more of a simple look. But in between those white overlays, you will, in that gray patch, you're going to get more of that camo design or pattern like I mentioned in the appearance. And I personally think that these look really nice with that Nike Air piece kind of worked into the midsole. You got a PG's player logo kind of embroidered onto the tongue as well. But aside from that, it is going to be a relatively basic look. So now let's go ahead and see how these shoes hold up on the court. For materials and support, the Dame 8s have textiles covering the entire upper with some TPU overlays in a few different places. And on the back of the Dame 8, you're going to get a small Achilles pillow that I didn't even really notice much while I was playing in these, but it is there. And for $120, the materials aren't going to be anything premium, but I also haven't had an issue in playing in these so far. And with there being nothing geared to help the support necessarily, such as an outrigger, a strap, a built-up midsole, these still do a good job of holding your plate, so there's nothing to or holding your foot in place, so there's nothing really to worry about there. But looking at the PG5s now, this is going to be a cheaper model, and much like the Dame 8s, you're not going to get any of those premium touches like suede or leather on these, but you are going to get some cheaper textiles that will help keep the shoe extremely lightweight. The support is also going to be solid on this design. You'll see a few white patches kind of on top of that midsole, running up the shoe a little bit to kind of help with your lateral containment, just keeping your foot within the shoe. And you even get a small outrigger on this model as well. And that's just there to kind of brace your foot and also give you a little bit of a wider base to help with balance. And all while doing that, the PG5 is going to remain extremely lightweight, like I was just saying. A size 10.5 only weighs 370 grams, and the Dame 8s are going to be going a little bit higher at 440 grams for the same size. And that's not going to make them necessarily heavy, but it's not going to be on the same plane as the PG5's nearly 100 grams lighter. So now zeroing in on more of the performance side, I'll start off with the cushioning first. So the Dame 8s are going to get a dual density Balance Pro cushioning setup, and that's designed to give you the perfect ratio of energy return, cushioning, and support. And this is a really nice model to play in. Adidas used a light strike cushioning setup on the Dame 7s that honestly had a pretty similar feel, but I was a fan of that shoe too. And the impact protection on this shoe has been really nice whenever you're landing from any type of jump, so I just don't have anything bad to say about the Dame 8 for this cushioning section. But now looking at the PG5s, these use a full-length air dot strobel that feels like you're walking on a cloud. Nike actually puts that in their bio for this shoe. I am in agreement. These do have memory foam inside that insole too that kind of conforms to your foot over time, just like some previous Kobe models would use. And these require zero break-in time. They are soft from the jump and they handle any type of impact protection whenever you're landing, so you're going to be covered there too. This is definitely one of the softest shoes that I've played in, so I definitely love that. So to finish off with traction, the Dame 8s get the same general design from last year's model, just with a slightly different pattern. So you're going to get some wavy lines instead of the jagged arrows, with some indentions kind of built into the middle of the shoe. And for this model, I wouldn't say that they're going to be sticky, but they still do have some grip. And I tested them out outdoors, and they played really well there. And so did the Dame 7, so I wasn't surprised about that. So I mean, as far as this Dame 8 model, I wouldn't say anything too special on it, but it is going to be above average for the traction. But for the PG5s, this is yet another strong area for this model. The traction pattern on these is meant to resemble the human foot. It's actually the same setup as the Kobe 9s, just like the cushioning on the insole was similar to Kobe's line. I guess Nike pulled a few things from there and they used them on this design, which is a major plus for this PG5 shoe. But I mean, these played really well. You're going to get a consistent playing feel. There's good grip on any type of movement from what I've noticed. And at first I thought the cushioning was a selling point on this model, but I mean, you can make a case that the traction is going to be right there with it. But to finish off with sizing, I did go true to size on both. The Dame 8s are going to run a little bit big, especially more so a little bit long. I think I could get away with going a half size down on these because I wouldn't really call them a narrow model. But the PG5s, they're true to size fit all the way around. So for the final ratings and starting off with the appearance, the PG5s look a little bit basic this year, but the Dame 8s look pretty clean, so I'm going to start off going that way. For cushioning, this is one of the strongest points on the PG5. The Dame 8 definitely isn't bad, but they don't play as soft as the PG5s here, so I'm going to start off with Paul's line for the cushioning section. But for materials, I mean, both of these shoes are going to get some cheaper textiles. They both have a few overlays in different spots, so I'm going to go with the tie for that section. And then for the support, that's another area that, both of these models, they do play really similar. Dame's lines just never really struggle with support, but the PG5 did give you a few extra things along those lines with like the white patches kind of built up from the midsole to help with your side to side. Then you also got a little bit of an outrigger as well. So I mean, I am going to go with the PG5s for the support just by a little bit. And then to finish off with traction, that's just going to be another spot that the PG5 outperforms the Dame 8. You have that Kobe 8 traction, that Kobe 9 traction pattern. It just plays amazing for me. The Dame 8 traction still isn't bad. It's just nothing too special either. And that is going to lead to me going with the Nike PG5 as the better shoe to hoop in. I mean, Paul George's fifth shoe is one of my favorite shoes to hoop in right now. Like, the cushioning and the traction are just top tier, in my opinion. And sometimes it's tough to find a shoe that has both of those sections covered. The Dame 8 is still a really nice shoe. It's just a little bit worse in most of the categories. Still a good option to play in. Thank you guys for taking some time to watch. If you want to buy the Nike PG5, just click the link on screen, or we have links down below or in our bio for both of these shoes, so feel free to check that out. But until next review, I'm Landon from Shoewear. Peace.